Hey everyone, and welcome to the first installment of this Sunday night series that I'm going to be doing. For now, it's going to be a once a month series. Hopefully, when I get a little bit more time and I'm able to actually live off this work, I'll be able to do it more often. Hopefully, once a week, once a fortnight, who knows. Tonight's topic is going to be about something that's a little bit close to my heart as someone who covers rallies and does freelance journalism, which is media sensationalism. And that's something that I think, no matter what side of the political divide you're on, should be very important to you. This topic is something that recently has it's recently come to my mind about something that I should talk about because last week I covered the March for Men here in Melbourne. And watching the way that the mainstream media outlets were talking about what actually went down there was a little bit off putting and made me question it a little bit. Because if you look at the way mainstream media was actually talking about this, they focused on one little thing that took place for all of 20 seconds, if that, 20, 30 seconds, and focused heavily on it, basically made their entire segments, like their entire segment on it, about it. They said that there were clashes. And no, not really. If you look at the footage that I took on that day, the clash that they're talking about was one protester went in there and made a little bit of a ruckus. There was pushing, there was yelling, one guy poking with a little flag, it's about this big, like the wooden pole's this big and like tiny. And they said that was violent clashes between basically men's rights activists and far left counter protesters. Now, as someone who really cares about accuracy in the media, this bothered me, and I think it should definitely bother you too, and I'll explain why. As someone who tries to make my work as unbiased as possible and just show you the facts, show you what's going on, and let you make up your own mind, it bothered me. And I think this is a topic that should be important to everyone, no matter where they fall on the political spectrum. But before I explain why I think it's important, I should probably explain to you the way that media companies work and why it seems to lead towards this sensationalist form of reporting. Here in Melbourne, we have a few media outlets on television, such as Channel 7, Channel 9, Channel 10, SBS, and ABC. And each one of them have their own news programs. Each one of them have news programs that they want you, the viewer, to watch. And they want you to watch it and not watch their competitors' news channels or news programs. And the only way that they can do that is to find some way that will draw you in. And now that these media outlets are on Facebook, they're on YouTube, making little videos that they want you to watch so they can get more ad revenue, more people liking their page, and therefore more viewers, they focus on things which are sensationalist. They focus on things that will draw you in. Basically, they make it clickbait. It's clickbait of news. Now, why do they do this? Like, what do they have to gain from it? Now, I know some of you would say that they have their own agendas, and I'm not going to go into that. I'm simply going to explain to you from an economic standpoint why they would do this. Now, the way that these companies get their funding is through advertiser revenue. And in order to get more money from their advertisers, and therefore make more money as a news station or a television station, they need the advertisers to see that they're worth putting more money into. So, in order to do that, they need more viewers. They need to say that we get this millions of viewers per show, give us more money for ad revenue. And in order to get those viewers, they need to hook you in somehow. And that's where the whole sensationalist news comes in. I watched this video a while back, I believe it was by CGP Grey, about the cycle of outrage. And that's something that really gets played into here. When you see something that is incredibly polarizing, something which makes you angry, you're more likely to respond to it. And so, talking about something where there's clashes between these two groups, where they know that the viewers are going to fall somewhere along the spectrum there, and they're going to align themselves more with one and the other, to see that that happens is going to outrage people. And it's going to get more people to go and view this video and comment on it. And on Facebook, people are going to share it more because they say, hey, look what happened. Look at these, whatever. They're fighting, they're doing this. Outrage or humor or whatever, people respond to that and they share it, they comment on it. Your friends see that you've commented on it, your friends see that you've shared it. And then they see it too. The cycle repeats, they keep doing it, it just keeps going and going and going. And the news media outlets see that this is working and they respond in kind. They will continue doing this. Now that's just a psychological trick that they're playing, basically. They're playing to the fact that we respond like that to such things. Clickbait on YouTube was pretty much the same, and it's sort of fallen out of favor because people are more likely to actually spot it. And we haven't yet really responded in a way that makes news media outlets less likely to do it. And we should, because it's important that we stay very, very well informed on all these topics so we can make our minds up. Now, there's an old adage in journalism, which is, if it bleeds, it leads. And it's true. Now, to give you an example, basically, because I've been covering these rallies and everything for the past almost 9 years now here in Melbourne, I've noticed something about the way that people respond when they look at my footage and they look at my photos. Rallies where there's violence get massive amounts of views. People really want to see those photos and they share it more often, they react to it, they get more comments on it. Same goes towards things that are a lot more polarizing. But if you look at things that don't really go violent, less views. And so, with that said, this is also a reason why media responds this way, why media sells their news segments in such a manner. They know full well that if it bleeds, it leads will sell to you. They know that if there is violence, it'll sell to you. They know that if something is polarizing, very polarizing, it will sell to you. And that gets them more viewers, that gets them more ad revenue. And that is why these media outlets are doing this. See, we're also at fault here, us as viewers, because we do respond that way. But that's not really our fault. We respond that way because of the way our brains work. It's a psychological trick that they're playing on us. And we can't really be held at fault for this, but it is also on us to try to acknowledge that this is the case and react in kind. Demand more accurate, unbiased, and complete coverage of issues like that. Fair, balanced, accurate reporting is incredibly important to democracy. It really is the cornerstone of the way the democratic system works. In order for people to be able to vote properly, in order for people to be able to take action on issues, they need to understand them. And if we're not getting accurate or complete reporting on this in the news, which is often the only way we will get this information, well, we can't respond properly. We respond from inaccurate and incomplete information, and that isn't good for anyone. So, we as consumers of news media need to take it upon ourselves to look at the full gamut of reporting that's out there and see which ones are more accurate, which ones are more complete, which ones have less or no sensationalism, and which ones have less or no bias. And that's not to say that we can't watch these news shows for our news. It just means that we have to look all over the news spectrum, basically, and take the information in, get all the views we possibly can, so then we can respond in kind. Because if you're just getting your news from one source, and that source is incredibly sensationalist, well, that's incomplete information. That isn't correct reporting. You're not going to be getting all the information that's available, and as such, you won't be completely informed. And that's where independent news comes in as well. And I'm not saying that because I am independent news, which I am. I'm saying that because independent news, independent journalists, they're not beholden to editors. They're not as bogged down with having to fall in line with the way that these news stations try to sell the news. They can get the information and just give it to you directly. They can cut out their opinions if they wish. They can put their opinions in if they wish, which if they do, well, that's fine. You just have to make sure you know their opinions, or they need to make sure that they let you know that that is their opinion and not just the facts. And that's what I'm going to be doing. If ever something's my opinion, and everything I've said here is my opinion, I'll let you know. So these independent news sources, look at them as well as mainstream news. That way you can hopefully get a more well-rounded view of what's going on. And in that case, get more accurate information and avoid the pitfalls of what sensationalism bring to news reporting. There's something which I've thought about for quite a while, which is the most important thing to a democracy is a well-informed populace. And sensationalism and inaccurate reporting doesn't correctly inform us. So that was my opinion, but I want to know what you guys think, because this is going to be a conversation. This series is about starting conversations and not just me preaching to the choir, preaching to people who may disagree, or just talking to the camera and not hearing you guys out. So if you have any thoughts on this, just let me know in the comments down below and I'll take a look at them. And once again, I just want to say thank you to everyone for tuning into this first installment of this new series. If you like what I do, or you want to see more of what I do, consider joining my Patreon and donating whatever money you have there to allow me to continue doing this. Once I get enough patrons and once I start making enough money off this, I will be doing this more often. So if you like this and you want to see it more often, consider becoming a patron of my work. The link to that will be in the description of this video and at the end card of this video as well, so you'll be able to see where to go and what to do. And once again, thanks very much for tuning into this, and if you liked it, like the page, like the video, and share this around. Because the more people actually come in and say what they have to say, the more views I get to hear from. And I'm not saying views as in views of this video, I mean people's views. I want to know what people think about this topic, and I want to know what you think about this topic. So please comment down below your thoughts, and I'll see you next time.